Welcome to Roots of Fear. Today's story is The Whispering Doll's Curse. My voice was the first thing to go. It didn't fade or grow hoarse, it was stolen, ripped from my throat in the dead of night. I awoke with a start, my heart hammering against my ribs like a trapped bird. The digital clock on my bedside table glowed a sickly red, 3:03 a.m. The silence in my small apartment was absolute, a heavy, smothering blanket. I tried to call out, a simple, hello, to break the oppressive quiet, but nothing came out. Not a whisper, not a rasp. Just a hollow, airy sound, like wind through a cracked window. Panic, cold and sharp, pierced the fog of sleep. I sat bolt upright, my hands flying to my throat. There was no pain, no physical sign of injury. I could breathe perfectly fine, but the mechanism for speech was just gone. I fumbled for my phone, my fingers trembling so badly I could barely type. I can't speak. Something's wrong. Come over. Please. I sent the text to my best friend, Maya. While I waited, shivering under my duvet, my eyes scanned the room. They landed on the shelf across from my bed. Among the books and trinkets sat Annabelle, the antique porcelain doll I'd bought just 2 days ago at a dusty, forgotten flea market. The vendor, an old woman with milky, sightless eyes, had insisted I take her. She needs a good home, the woman had croaked, her grip surprisingly strong on my wrist. She's been so lonely. I'd thought she was just eccentric. Now, in the sinister silence of 3 a.m., the doll seemed different. Her glassy blue eyes, which I had thought were fixed in a demure downward glance, now seemed to be staring directly at me. A shiver traced an icy path down my spine. It was just a trick of the light, I told myself. Just the panic making me see things. Maya arrived within 20 minutes, her face a mask of concern. She found me huddled on my bed, pointing frantically at my throat and then at my phone, where I typed out a frantic explanation. Lena, oh my God, you okay? Was it a dream? A night terror, she asked, her voice a soothing balm I desperately wished I could respond to. I shook my head violently, typing again. No dream. I woke up and it was gone. My voice is just gone. Maya, ever the pragmatist, made me tea and ran through a list of logical explanations. Laryngitis? Allergic reaction? Stress? But a quick Google search on her phone confirmed none of those things happen instantaneously, in the middle of a deep sleep. As she spoke, my eyes kept drifting back to the doll. I pointed at it. That creepy thing? What about it? Maya asked, getting up to take a closer look. It's even worse up close. The paint is chipped, and that dress, it looks like a funeral shroud. She reached out to pick it up. I lunged forward, grabbing her arm. A sudden, irrational fear surging through me. I shook my head, my eyes wide with a warning I couldn't voice. Lena, what is it? It's just a doll. But it wasn't. I knew it with a certainty that chilled my blood. I typed a new message. The old woman said it was lonely. Maya read it and sighed, her concern for my mental state now warring with her worry for my physical one. Okay, look. It's been a terrifying night. Let's get some sleep. We'll go to the doctor first thing in the morning. You're not alone, okay? I'm right here. Gratefully, I nodded. She took the couch, and eventually, exhaustion overpowered my fear, pulling me back into a fitful sleep. The next thing I knew, a sound jolted me awake. It wasn't loud, but in the profound silence I was trapped in, it was as sharp as a gunshot. Tap. 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 It was coming from the shelf. The room was bathed in the pale, grey light of dawn. I slowly, painfully, turned my head. Annabelle was still on the shelf. But her head was no longer tilted down. It was turned, ever so slightly, facing the couch where Maya slept. And then, a whisper filled the room. It was thin, reedy, a sound that seemed to be woven from dust and shadows. Alone. My blood ran cold. I stared, paralyzed, at the doll. Its porcelain lips hadn't moved, but the voice was unmistakable. It was a child's voice, but ancient and cruel. "You're not alone anymore." The voice was coming from the doll. The doll was whispering. I scrambled for my phone, my heart trying to beat its way out of my chest. I typed a message to Maya, my vision blurring with tears of terror. "Did you hear that?" The whisper? A groan came from the couch. Maya sat up, rubbing her eyes. "Hear what, Lena?" I didn't hear anything. "It's quiet." She saw the sheer panic on my face and came over, reading my phone. Her expression softened with pity. "It was probably a dream, sweetie. A waking dream. Your brain is trying to make sense of the trauma of losing your voice." I wanted to scream. It wasn't a dream. I heard it. But all I could do was shake my head and point a trembling finger at the doll. Maya followed my gaze, a flicker of unease finally crossing her face. "Okay," she said, her tone decisive. "Okay, you know what? Whether it's causing this or not, that thing is clearly freaking you out. It's gone." Before I could stop her, she marched to the shelf, grabbed the doll by its cloth body, and carried it toward the kitchen trash chute. I watched, a mixture of relief and fresh dread warring inside me. As she opened the chute and dropped the doll in, I thought I heard one last, faint whisper on the air. "Mine." Then, it was gone. The oppressive feeling in the room seemed to lift. I took a deep, shuddering breath. Maybe it was over. Maybe it was all in my head. We went to the doctor that morning. He shone lights down my throat, ran tests, and found absolutely nothing wrong with my vocal cords. "Psychosomatic," he declared with a confident smile. "Extreme stress. Your voice will return when your mind is ready." I didn't believe him, but I had no other explanation. Maya had to go to work, but she made me promise to call her if I needed anything. I nodded, giving her a weak, grateful smile. After she left, the apartment felt different. Lighter. The silence was no longer menacing, just quiet. I spent the day trying to relax, watching mindless TV, reading. By evening, I was exhausted but feeling more hopeful. I made dinner, and as I was washing the dishes, a strange compulsion came over me. A melody, simple and old-fashioned, began playing in my head. It was a lullaby, one I felt like I'd heard long, long ago. Without thinking, I began to hum. The sound that came out of me was not my own. It was a high, thin, childish hum. The same timbre as the whisper from the night before. I clapped my hands over my mouth, the plates in the sink forgotten. The humming stopped. Terror, fresh and absolute, washed over me. It wasn't over. Throwing the doll away had done nothing. It was still here. And it was inside me. I ran to my room, locking the door as if that could keep the evil out. I grabbed my phone to text Maya, but my fingers wouldn't obey. They hovered over the screen, trembling. A new thought, alien and vicious, slithered into my mind. She tried to throw me away. She's not a good friend. No, I tried to say, but only a choked gasp emerged. That wasn't my thought. It was the doll's. It was planting its thoughts, its feelings, inside my head. I fought against the invading presence, focusing all my will on typing a message to Maya. It's not gone. It's in my head. It made me hum. Help me. Just as I was about to hit send, my right hand, completely of its own volition, darted out and slapped the phone from my left. I watched in horror as it clattered to the floor. I tried to move, to pick it up, but my body was no longer my own. I was a passenger, trapped inside a flesh and bone prison. I felt a smile stretch across my face, a stiff, unnatural expression I wasn't making. From my own throat, in that same terrible childish whisper, came a single word. Mine. The entity, the thing that was Annabelle, had full control. It spent the next few hours exploring its new home. It made me walk around the apartment, tracing the patterns on the wallpaper with my fingers, picking up objects and setting them down. It was learning. Adapting. The doorbell rang. Maya's voice came from the intercom. Lena? You okay? You've been quiet. I brought pizza. A surge of hope. She could help me. She could see I wasn't myself. But the thing controlling me felt my hope and squashed it. That cruel, alien smile returned to my face. It walked my body to the intercom and pressed the button to let her in. No? I screamed in the prison of my mind. Don't let her in. Maya bounded up the stairs, holding a pizza box. Figured you could use some comfort food, she said, her cheerful demeanor faltering as she saw me standing stiffly in the doorway. Lena? You look pale. The thing inside me didn't speak. It just stared at her, my head tilted at an unnatural angle, mimicking the doll's original pose. Okay, seriously, you're freaking me out, Maya said, setting the pizza down on the coffee table. Did something happen? Did you get your voice back? Slowly, deliberately, my body shook its head. Then, it raised my arm and pointed at Maya. What? What is it? And then, my voice came out, but it was layered, wrong. Under my own natural tone was the ghost of that childish whisper. You threw me away. Maya's face went sheet white. She took a step back. Lena, stop it. This isn't funny. I'm not Lena, my voice rasped, the two tones warring with each other. She's sleeping. I am Annabelle. And you are a bad friend. Bad friends need to be punished. Maya, to her credit, didn't freeze. Fear galvanized her. Get out of her, she snarled, grabbing a heavy book from the shelf. Get out of my friend right now. She lunged forward, but the thing controlling me was fast. It sidestepped her with an agility I never possessed and grabbed her wrist. The grip was impossibly strong. Maya cried out in pain and surprise. Let go of me, she yelled, struggling. But the thing just smiled with my face. It started to hum that same, haunting lullaby. As it did, Maya's struggles began to weaken. Her eyes lost their focus, glazing over. Her body went slack. No? I screamed internally. Maya, fight it! The humming stopped. The thing that was me released Maya's wrist. She stood still, a vacant doll-like expression on her face. Pick up the pizza cutter, my voice commanded. Like a robot, Maya obeyed. She picked up the circular metal blade from the pizza box. Now, the thing whispered with my lips, its voice full of malicious glee. Let's play a game. For the next hour, I was forced to watch from behind my own eyes as the entity tormented my best friend. It made her perform a series of bizarre, humiliating, and dangerous tasks. It made her balance on the back of the sofa, reciting nursery rhymes backward. It made her cut her own hair with the pizza cutter. It was a puppet master, and Maya was its new, favorite toy. And I was the helpless audience, screaming in a silence no one would ever hear. Finally, growing bored, the thing commanded Maya to sit in the corner and be quiet. She complied, curling into a ball, her spirit seemingly broken. The entity then turned its attention back to me, to the world outside. It spent the next day using my body, my life. It went to the bank and withdrew money from my account. It went shopping, buying old, antique toys and frilly, old-fashioned clothes that I would never wear. It interacted with cashiers, with people on the street, using my voice, my face, but with a strange, stilted mannerism that made them uneasy. They would look at me twice, a flicker of confusion in their eyes, but they always dismissed it. People are good at dismissing things that don't make sense. I was a ghost in my own life, watching a monstrous imposter live it. The entity's thoughts occasionally bled into mine. I felt its loneliness, a deep, cosmic emptiness that stretched back for decades. It had been passed from owner to owner, draining their voices, their lives, until they were hollow shells it could no longer use, and then it would wait, in a box or on a shelf, for the next lonely soul to claim it. It didn't hate, it simply consumed. It was a parasite that fed on identity. But I also felt its fear. It was afraid of being alone. Of being discarded. That was its weakness. On the third night, it sat my body down in front of my laptop. It had been browsing the internet, learning about the modern world. It found a site for online auctions. With a chilling sense of purpose, it began to create a listing. For sale, one antique porcelain doll. Name, Lena. Very obedient. Needs a new home. Owner is no longer using her. It was going to sell me. My body, my life. It would move on to a new host, and I would be sold off to some unsuspecting stranger, a conscious prisoner forever. Despair threatened to consume me. This was it. This was my eternity. My eyes, which I had no control over, drifted to the corner where Maya still sat, rocking back and forth slightly. Her eyes met mine for a fleeting second. And in that second, I saw something. A flicker. Not of the vacant doll, but of Maya. My fierce, pragmatic, brilliant best friend. She was still in there, fighting. She subtly moved her hand, tapping a rhythm on the floorboards. It was a rhythm I recognized. A code we'd made up as kids, back when we passed notes in class. Tap tap. Tap. Tap tap tap. You. In. There? A wildfire of hope exploded in my chest. She was there. She was fighting. The entity, feeling my sudden surge of emotion, scowled with my face. Be quiet, it hissed at the empty air, thinking I was the source of the disturbance. It turned back to the laptop, finalizing the auction details. Maya tapped again, slower, more deliberate. Tap. Tap tap tap. Tap tap. Tap 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 tap. Plan. Distract. You. Fight. I had no idea what her plan was, but I focused all my will, all my remaining energy, into a single, internal scream, yes. Maya suddenly let out a low, guttural moan. The entity's head snapped up. Maya began to convulse, thrashing on the floor, foaming at the mouth. It was a convincing performance. The entity was annoyed. It needed the body it was about to sell to be in good condition. It stood up, my body moving with jerky, irritated steps toward her. Stop that, it commanded. You will damage the vessel. As it knelt beside her, its attention fully on subduing her, I felt its control over me waver, just for a fraction of a second. It was like a taut rope going slightly slack. This was my chance. I pushed. With every memory of my mother's laugh, with every joy I'd ever felt, with every ounce of love I had for my friend, I pushed against the invading presence. I focused on one thing, and one thing only, my voice. The memory of it. The feel of it vibrating in my throat. The power of my own words. The entity shrieked in my mind, a sound of tearing fabric and breaking glass. It scrambled to regain control, but Maya's distraction had worked. She suddenly stopped convulsing and wrapped her arms around my legs, holding the entity in place. Now, Lena, she screamed. I took a final, monumental mental lunge. I pictured my voice as a physical thing, a brilliant, sharp sword, and I drove it straight through the heart of the darkness inside me. And then, sound erupted from my throat. It wasn't a word. It was a raw, primal, deafening scream. A scream of rage, of reclamation, of pure, undiluted life. It was the most beautiful sound I had ever heard. The entity howled. The windows in my apartment rattled. The lights flickered violently. I felt it detach, a cold, slimy thing being ripped from my soul. It flew out of me and toward the shelf where the doll had once sat, as if seeking its anchor. But the doll was gone. It had nothing to tether itself to. With a final, silent wail of cosmic loneliness, the presence simply dissolved. It vanished into the nothingness from whence it came. The apartment fell silent. Truly silent. The oppressive weight was gone. The air felt clean. I collapsed, gasping, my own breath, my own sobs, the most wonderful symphony. Maya scrambled over to me, clutching me tightly. You're back, she cried, tears streaming down her face. You're back. I tried to speak, my throat raw and aching. Maya, I croaked. It was barely audible, but it was my voice. My own, wonderful, imperfect, human voice. We didn't call the police. What would we say? We spent the rest of the night burning the old-fashioned clothes it had bought, cleansing the apartment with sage that Maya had ironically bought from a spiritual shop as a joke, and talking, our voices a constant, comforting presence against the night. My voice fully returned over the next few days, stronger than ever. I never collect antiques anymore. I stick to things with simple, understandable histories. But sometimes, in the dead of night, when the house is too quiet, I'll hear a faint, almost imperceptible whisper. It's not in the room, it's a memory, etched into the fabric of my mind. A reminder of the thing that craved a voice so much, it was willing to steal one. And I'll lie there, listening to the beautiful, mundane sound of my own breathing, and I'll speak, just to hear the proof. I am here, I'll whisper into the darkness. And I am not alone. And the silence that answers back is finally, blessedly, just silence.